I'm telling you, I'm winning more new business today because I'm not talking like 99% of the other agencies where it's like, whoa, more PMAX and more demand gen and this. And I'm
we
like,
can see all these channels in PMAX.
How does it behave? What is it doing? We want more new customer acquisition. Yes, we do. Okay, this is how we go and get it. And it's not by continuing to just give more budget to PMAX. You know, and a lot of these companies are now feeling that. And so there's an interesting pivot right now. And so for anyone who's listening to this, you're getting what I think is like the good insight here. I'm closing more new big businesses today because I have something unique I'm saying to them. They're all struggling to scale new customers because they've all bought into like running all this money into Performance Max campaigns, or their agency did. And they're like, we can't scale and we're losing like we're actually decreasing on new customer acquisition, yet we're spending more on Google Ads. You break that apart for them and they're like, oh, here, take it. Take the keys now. We want you guys. That to me is the future. We created the GrowMyAds brand, I think in 2020. And it really was spawned from just a freelance relationship I had with Luke. And we've poured into really growing it, really growing the brand. And now we probably are one of the fastest growing Google Ads agencies. Now, here's the thing. We can talk about this. I don't think we're just going to be a Google Ads agency. Like we do meta ads now, and we're going to probably expand some of our services strategically. I don't want to ever be a jack of all trades character, but just for the future of what I'm seeing and want to become to our clients. And so, yeah, we're growing rapidly. A lot of that's been due to the brand that we've grown through our YouTube channel. But we've also had some other channels that have done well for us for like lead generation and things like that. So we hit 7 figures before we were ever on YouTube. But YouTube's really accelerated it for us, which I think for anyone, since this is agency related, if you are trying to grow a big agency, even if you're not, and you're just trying to get like rich being like a boutique or just a highly paid consultant, I always say, find a channel. It's going to take, you're playing the long game, right? Play it on a channel that resonates with you. That could be YouTube. It could be Twitter or X. It could be LinkedIn. It could be doing conferences. I know guys who make way more money than me. You would never find them online. They're just traveling around doing all these different events and conferences, and they make $1 million every time they show up. And so you just got to get known with the audience, and it makes the game of growing a lot easier. And so anyways, that's where we're at. Fast forward today, got a really cool team. We're growing fast. And so I'm excited for the future, where a lot of doom and gloom stuff happens. Agencies are going to be wiped out and AI is going to do everything and this and that. And the reality is I'm like very excited for the future. I'm super bullish. I do think it's going to wipe out as AI, continues to advance. I think it will wipe out a lot of like the really bad agencies out there. And so, yeah, I like the next at least 5 years, I wake up excited every day to see what we're building. And I think it's going to continue to grow and become even bigger for us. So, yeah. And then I've met Caden through, the grapevine of this nerdy world we're in. And I've always enjoyed talking to you. So I'm excited to now talk agency stuff with you.
I think one of the things, though, that I've been noticing that is a trend that's happening more and more, and I'm sure that this is, one of the things you're excited about too, and one of the things that I'm doing is pushing for more services underneath, our belts, just because, for example, one of the biggest things that I did was, one of the biggest benefits that I did was actually learn meta ads. And this was about 2 years ago, just because there's so much overlap that happens between Google and Meta. And it's like, you want to have as much impact as you can on the business because, if you have a really good Google ad account built out, but then their meta ads are awful, they're going to be like, what's going on, right? There's going to be issues that you don't really have control over. Whenever we would get a client, majority of spend would be on Meta, and all that traffic would just change completely what we were doing on Google, just with all the omni-channel influence going on. And so I think with AI now helping with creatives, not yet on like a full service perspective, it's going to allow for a lot more businesses to add more to their, I guess you can say, services that would impact their actual main delivery, what they're focused on more and more and more. because I've been exploring creatives quite a bit lately. And it's not, like I said, it's not there yet. It's been more on like just static imagery, but I'm telling you, like, I don't have to go out and communicate with like a third party as much anymore on like, can you produce these creatives for the Facebook ads, and then run into a scenario where the creative agency maybe is like really good at creative but terrible at ads, but they're serving ads at the same time. So there's a lot of like overlap that's happening more and more. And so I'm curious to see, like, what do you see on the horizon when it comes to AI, and what's sort of your thought process on maybe adding services, or maybe you're adding, you know, you don't want to add too many services because you kind of get overwhelmed with it. What's sort of your, I guess, next steps when it comes to, yeah, adding more services in, and how AI is going to impact that?
Well, I look at it more like I think the future is, and I keep using this. I don't know if it totally makes sense, but smaller but smarter. And so I think agencies that are 1,000 employees already, or 500 employee, like super massive agencies, right? I think they actually are going to struggle the most. And because, you know, when you're at that size and scale, your specialized services kind of, you know, evaporate, and you're offering a lot of cookie cutter stuff to be able to do it at that scale. Not always. Like, there's massive agencies that do great work, so I'm not saying they all are like that, but for the most part they are. From what I've, you know, just seen interacting with them in the wild. And that's just the nature of getting that big. It's hard to just only have wicked smart people when you have 1,000 employees and you're trying to work with, you know, all these different clients. So I actually think this is a great time for the smaller guys, depending on what they want to build. And I just think you have to, in the future, be able to offer more of the strategic thinking and consulting that translates to their advertising goals, and advertising strategy, versus just being really good at Google ads, or really good at meta ads, or really good at like CRO. Like, that phase does seem to still be a thing right now. I mean, think about it. I run an agency that's branded as a Google ads agency. Now, as we're evolving away from just being a Google ads agency, but 98% of my revenue is just Google ads related, revenue management or consulting, right? I just think, though, like, the conversations and how we're training our teams is like, I'm like, guys, you aren't media buyers. Stop thinking of yourselves as an ad media buyer. You are being trained, and you're going to grow into a strategic advisor to companies. So think like that, right? And so, and I know the word like consultant and strategic advisors and stuff gets like broad and thrown all over the place, but when I look at the relationship we have with our clients today, it's not like, okay, yeah, we can just kind of add these new campaigns, and think like how a Google rep works with a client, right? They're like, you should be using the new technology Google's using, and this and that. And they never talk about what ultimately does that business want? What is their actual goal? Where do they want to be next year or 5 years from now? None of that's talked about. It's just the product of Google ads is only the thing that gets discussed. And it's like, you should be using these campaigns. And there's so many businesses that I think they just kind of still are in that mindset. They're like, oh, I'm using Google ads to just run ads, and it's producing this, and we get high ROAS, but they have actually no idea what's truly taking place. And so it's funny, like, when we are working with prospects or our clients, I mean, the number one thing we're actually talking about the most of the time is not even their ads. It's their business. And it kind of, I don't know if it catches them off guard or not, but like in some cases, it's funny. Like, I'll work with, I'll do a whole hour with someone, and I barely talked about their actual ads, because I was like, none of that really means much yet until I understand everything else. And what do I mean by that? I mean by, what's a new customer worth to you, like LTV? What are you trying to achieve over the next year? Do you have aggressive growth goals? Do you have VC backed money? You know, what ultimately do you want? Don't ever tell me I want higher ROAS and more sales, because you don't know anything then. You don't know what you want. So let's figure out, what do you want? And most of them, they're like, that actually takes a while. It's like you're in therapy with them, trying to break them down a little bit. And it's like, what are you ultimately doing? Like, what are you running ads for this business then? Well, sales, right? But for what? Like, what does that ultimately mean when you sell a product to someone? How much do you make from that? Like, what's your cost? And so I think a lot of people get just like, they forget, because one day could have been 10 years ago, could have been 5 years ago, could have been 2 years ago. They just plugged in ad campaigns on Google Ads and it started bringing traffic and sales. And they're like, okay, I'll just keep trying to make more money from this. And they forget what they're actually doing as a business. The whole, to simplify it, and for most businesses, you bring new customers in, you sell them a product or service, and you try to get them to come back and buy from you over and over again until infinity, right? Now, that will differ on every business. Some businesses, you sell them one thing, they may never come back to you again because they only need it that one time. Well, you better know your math very well, because you'll lose your butt if you are acquiring customers at a loss in that transaction. Then you have companies like supplements where they can run and acquire customers at an absolute loss on the front end because their LTV is $3,000 over the next couple of years, right? Well, if they're in a position to cash flow that and play the LTV game, they can dominate at new customer acquisition, but they better know the math or they'll lose their butt in that case too. A lot of companies just don't even understand the math, or they don't know. So we're working with our clients more and more on just that sort of strategic analysis of what they are as a company, what is a customer worth to them, how much can they actually afford to acquire a customer. Then once we have the business insights, we translate that back to, okay, let's see what's going on in your ad campaigns. And that's predominantly Google for us. Obviously, we have a meta side to our program now. In the future, I see email. I mean, email is very important too, and I would love to add that component. I never want to do anything good. I want to always do something great. We do Google at the highest level possible. So I'm very cautious about just launching a new service. So even Meta, I am like, do not sell Meta right now to a fashion brand. We're not equipped for that. We don't have the creative resources to be able to do that. So we're very strict there, but we will evolve and grow and become, a top-notch, meta provider as well. And eventually on the email, and that could actually be through acquisition. I've thought about just acquiring maybe the skill set through boutique agencies that are really good at email or something, just buy them and bring them in. But I'm not quite sure what I want to do there yet. However, when we're working with clients, it really is now we translate that back to their accounts. Well, we understand Google at a very high level. So we kind of understand, like, when I was talking to a company recently, and a lot of what they were pushing was PMax. This is a massive brand, by the way. And they're like, Google shows our conversions are up year over year. Our sales are down year over year. Now, that doesn't mean Google's bad in that situation, right? Because they need to understand all their channels. But they're like, Google's up, we're down, and our new customers are actually down. And like, so we're in this moment, big company, but we're not acquiring any more new customers. Like our net new customers are decreasing year over year. But Google looks healthy and good. And you're like, okay, so you like, hold on, before I diagnose that, what are your other channels? How are those doing? And I don't, I can't fully figure that out for them. Because I'm not, an expert at all channels, but I can have the conversation with them, right? But then we analyze their Google ads, and they're spending a lot of money. I'm like, guys, you're basically predominantly running Performance Max campaigns. You have brand scattered throughout all of it. Okay. I'm like, I can almost guarantee you that like more than 50% of the conversions that are being generated from your campaigns in this Google Ads account are not new customers. And so that then we start pulling back the layers of now talking about attribution and how we really need to be focused on new customer acquisition and how we are able to then attribute what we're doing on the ad side to actual new customers. And so I'm like, from an ad standpoint, because we're going to be your ad guys, the only two metrics, and I know MER gets thrown out there too, but actually the only two metrics I care about are we increasing new customers? And are we doing it at an NCAC that is profitable for you, right? And NCAC, for anyone listening, just how much you're acquiring a customer for. So think of a CPA, cost per acquisition, but new customer only. So not for a whole business. A whole business may do 1,000 sales, but out of 1,000 sales, if 200 of those are only new customers, you want to look at that group of 200 and what did you spend on ads to basically acquire 200 new customers? Is that profitable or not? And you need to know that number in order to actually scale ads and scale your business long term. And then it's funny, I'm talking to companies that are 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, and they don't even know these numbers. Now, some of them are smart and sophisticated, but a lot of them just aren't, because then you start thinking and talking about the strategies of their ads. And I'm like, let me ask you this. Here's how Performance Max behaves, right? From what we know, it is black box, but this is kind of how we've figured it behaves. How would you scale that? Well, you're right. I guess we just give it more money or decrease bids. Right. But you don't know if it's going after more new customers, correct? So we've got to find, where do new customers come from? Usually it's first click. And so I always give an example of a customer journey of like the furniture business I run called homereserve.com. We found actually a meta ad generated more new customers on a first click attribution, which made sense. We hit our demographic through a meta ad, through creative, and it's like, oh, wow, I've never heard of Home Reserve, but this fits for it's usually moms with pets and kids. They see that ad. Are they going to buy from that ad? Absolutely not. But they came into our world because of that ad. Then the attribution over the next 30 to 60 to 90 days actually goes to PMax or shopping or search or whatever, because that person now is searching. They're Google searching because it's a big sectional sofa. That's not something you click and buy day one. It's a long sales cycle. How do I scale that? I don't push more money into PMax. I scale it by scaling what actually generated new first-time clicks into my world. That's where I can scale. It's not continuing to push more into campaigns that are playing more of a role of bottom of the funnel and middle of the funnel. It's actually that top of funnel of new customer acquisition, and data architecting that, and then having the back-end business insights all play a role into the strategic or the strategy that you're doing now on your ad campaigns. All has to play together. And when it does, that is when you have like a beautiful business where you can kind of crank things up when you need to crank it up and crank things down when you need to crank it down. And a lot of business today, because they all got sucked into Performance Max campaigns, including myself. And I'm not saying don't run PMax. There's a role it plays. And middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel is still good. It's just you don't want to fully only focus on that. But a lot of people have gotten sucked into PMax only, and they've done that for the last couple of years. And I'm telling you, I'm winning more new business today because I'm not talking like 99% of the other agencies where it's like, whoa, more PMax and more demand gen and this. And I'm like,
we can see all these channels in PMax.
How does it behave? What is it doing? We want more new customer acquisition. Yes, we do. Okay, this is how we go and get it. And it's not by continuing to just give more budget to PMax. You know that, and a lot of these companies are now feeling that. And so there's an interesting pivot right now. And so for anyone who's listening to this, you're getting what I think is like the good insight here. I'm closing more new big businesses today because I have something unique I'm saying to them. They're all struggling to scale new customers because they've all bought into like running all this money into Performance Max campaigns, or their agency did. And they're like, we can't scale and we're losing we're actually decreasing on new customer acquisition, yet we're spending more on Google ads. You break that apart for them and they're like, oh, here, take the keys now. We want you guys. That to me is the future. And so we're kind of doing it in a limited role. By the way, I'm not a genius, and I'm actually kind of a dumb guy. So I was inspired actually by you, John, Qasim back in the day. Like you guys were having some of these conversations early on before, I think Soul 8 was acquired, but you guys did inspire me to think outside the box, specifically John, because he's like, geeked out on Red Bull and just like he's a crazy
bang energy, and he's just up 12 hours a
Yeah, he's
day.
a crazy wizard. So I have to AI, summarize what he said in his transcripts, and then I'm like, hey, dumb this down for me. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool what he said. And then I want to go explore that. So you guys actually inspired me to kind of start thinking more like this. But it has totally transformed the culture here at GrowMyAds. We are fully turning more into like this. These are the conversations we're having every day with clients. It's not like, campaign types and stuff like that. All of that plays a role, but what ultimately are we trying to achieve for our clients? That's all we care about. And then the business insights and the data.
Yeah. I think it's important too, because at the end of the day, businesses, even with pre-iOS 14, attribution was better, but it was not right still. And it's just because blue ocean, there's just so many people, the platform's growing, that you'll just get new customers just by the nature of the platform. Whereas now it's kind of in that mature state where, we're well past, COVID days. And so we're pretty much sort of averaging out in the market. And I've been noticing the same exact thing where people will come to me, and one of the best sales thing that I always say is okay, you have Performance Max in your account. What are you tracking? Okay, look at MER and NCAC. What's your top line revenue? Pause Performance Max, and let's just see what happens. And if I'm wrong, then don't go with me. If I'm all right, then go with me. But I think that you're not going to see revenue actually change. And so they pause it and they say, oh, revenue didn't change at all. New customer volume didn't really change at all. I just saved 40 grand. Okay. Right then and there, you're already worth what you charge, kind of thing. And it happens so often. It's just the right KPIs to track. But you're saying though, a client's not going, they're focused on growing the business. They're not really going to be looking at Google Ads stuff and Meta Ads stuff all the time. It's going to be something that is sort of what is the market saying? What do I track? And then how do I, reach those results? Not what campaign type works the best or not. It's very hard to, be on the edge of the edge of the edge when it comes to understanding all these little, marketing tips and tools.
And listen, Performance Max, I'm not trashing Performance Max completely. It plays a role. New customers is what you want ultimately from advertising, but it's not as easy as I can just grab new, bottom of the funnel, middle of it's all important in the grand scheme of things, but it's just people lose sight of that because they just got caught up in what's my ROAS? And then, when the market was hot, right? Think about it. We've been in this in crazy bull market for the last decade. And then we had these blips with COVID years, which I always tell businesses, take COVID years out completely, just erase it from how you think of your numbers. Cause that's just an unusual thing. And so I know companies who quadrupled and now they're back down to where they were at prior to COVID. Okay. Does that mean you're failing as a business? Does that mean oh my God, we're losing now? No, it just means you captured so much of this search volume that was caused by a worldwide event that will go down in human history, right? So that is not something you can control. That's this weird outlier event that took place, and you were able to capitalize on it in that moment because people were stuck at home and you just sold a product that people wanted while they were at home, right? So take it out, and then you're not actually losing, but let's recalibrate you to where you are today. But people got caught in when things were going well for them, due to, in some of these cases, just outside influences. It's easy to just be ROAS is up, sales are up, awesome, life's easy. But then when things are kind of a reversion of the mean starts taking place, which has, pretty much over the last several years for many businesses, then they scrutinize. Well, I need our ROAS is decreasing. We need that back up. And it's what does that mean? Why do you need ROAS back up? Well, because we were hitting 1,000% 2 years ago. What does that mean? And it's they don't even know what they're saying. They just think ROAS equals good and they want more good. So you have to kind of pull that out of them. But then you start talking again. It's ROAS is very deceptive. Okay. So it is good when you're starting out. I have no problem with ROAS either, right? It's just a metric and it's fine as a baseline metric especially when you're just starting, but eventually you got to grow as a company, right? So you got to know some true numbers here. And so when I just consulted with a brand recently, and ROAS and CPA looked incredible on their Performance Max campaign. And I was getting them to start feeding more into non-brand search, non-brand shopping. And the numbers there looked bad. And they're like, but why get away from PMAX? Look at these numbers. Well, in order to like bring clarity to them, I'm like, go talk to Wicked Reports, go get this set up, and then we'll get some data. I want to show you something. Sure enough, Wicked Reports gets them set up. And you can use whatever, right? I'm not biased to any of these reporting software, third-party attribution. Scott's really cool. I talked to him. I know you use a lot of this blot out thing.
Yeah, Wicked is probably the best in my opinion for third-party tools.
Yeah, and I did a video with Scott, and like he's pretty cool, wicked smart guy. So good name for him of Wicked Reports. but you know, I showed them from Wicked's third-party attribution now. Look what Performance Max is doing. Like 40% of your traffic is new. Okay. So that means 60% of this is return traffic. And if we look at the sales, this is a supplement company, by the way, more than half of their sales were from repeat customers. So I'm like, that CPA, when I pull out the repeat customers from it, your CPA is actually double what your non-brand campaigns that are predominantly bringing in new customers are. Oh, so you just have to pull back all the layers and get to the true math. Now, even your non-brand stuff is going to play a role middle and bottom of the funnel. It's going to do some remarketing in there too. That's just the name of the, especially with smart bidding and all this. But his non-brand search and non-brand shopping was predominantly new customer acquisition. That's how you grow a business, right? So I'm like, we need to dial in this to the math that financially makes sense for you to acquire. And guess what? I'm not saying turn PMAX off, but over time, and this goes kind of into the feeder strategy, right? Over time, that PMAX campaign is literally going to just be middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, basically a remarketing campaign. Now, that's hacky, but it works. And there's going to be probably some people watching this like, you can't control PMAX. It won't only be remarketing. You're right. But whatever. I can see in the data that it's predominantly repeat customers or warm audiences. I can add fuel to the non-brand stuff, right? That's what I want. That as a business owner who wants to be able to acquire more new customers when I'm willing to get more aggressive, or when I need to dial back, hey, costs are getting a little too high. We need to bring, I don't want to kill new customer acquisition, right? But I got to get our NCAC into a healthier range because right now we're getting a little too hot. Cool. Guess where I know how to now move the dials? On those campaigns that are predominantly new customer, cold traffic driven. Now I can fine tune NCAC back down for you. It's impossible to do that when you have an account just scattered with a bunch of PMAX campaigns. It's really, really hard. You're kind of guessing in those moments without, third-party attribution and all that.
Well, and PMAX overlaps with all the other PMAXs. Even if you exclude out products, they're still going to have display that's going to overlap across everything. So you're going to have cross-pollination without a doubt. I think, and it really, it kind of comes full circle where it's like we're so used to all these attribution platforms and all these tools and this way to like see exactly what's going on. And I feel like a lot of marketers have kind of forgot that like the top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel is still a thing. Like that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Like you scale top of funnel and it's a funnel, right? Like top of funnel is more spend, more volume, top of funnel than middle and bottom of funnel. So where are you going to scale? The part that catches more people.
Right.
So
funny. I was talking to like a seasoned veteran in the game, agency owner, big agency owner. And I was just having this conversation in regards to, because we were talking about the future and whatnot. And I was saying from the strategic advisory side of things, but I was telling him like, the scenario of home reserve meta ad to the attribution of where like PMAX was sucking all the attribution, but it was actually that meta ad that was driving all the new customers. If you look at it from a first click attribution, which you can't do in app anymore in Google, it's all data driven. And he goes, you just blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean, man? He's like, I've never actually thought of that way myself. And this guy owns like a $10 million plus agency. And it's like, because we all do, including myself, we all got caught in the in-app stuff and ROAS and, and honestly, back in the day, that was all fine. It's just gotten murky today. But 5 years ago, Google is pretty good if you just relied on Google numbers. And in fact, I ran a test, and it's probably still true today. We launched a brand new brand, so there was no other traffic but ads, and it was 20% off. So we did 20% more sales in the back end than what Google could attribute. There was literally no other source. It was only PPC, Google ads driven revenue. And so I always was like, actually, Google underreports probably by 20% for most people. And I honestly think that's more than likely still true today. But you have tools that can kind of help make that, have more clarity there. But yeah, like we just all got kind of sucked up in that world. But what I am seeing today is a lot of companies are now in this situation where they've all tapped into these black box campaign types, and they don't know how to scale anymore. They're like, we don't know, like it worked cool. We moved to it, and over a year or two, we've now like capped it out. We don't know what to do. And a lot of companies are there, and then their new customers are actually decreasing now. And you're like, oh, is this a macro thing? Maybe, or maybe it's because like you've only fully invested into PMAX campaigns too. And again, I'm not dogging PMAX. It all plays a role, and customers today are smarter, right? The days of clicking and buying are gone. Like think how you buy. I always give an example. This t-shirt I'm wearing, I saw an Instagram ad. 6 months later, I made a purchase. There's no attribution back to that Instagram ad. And so I just remembered the company, and I would see remarketing ads because I actually did go to their website after seeing it. I was like, oh, this looks cool. I'm into black t-shirts. And so, I went, checked them out. 6 months later is when I actually needed to re-up after, my shirts started fading. I was like, I got to get some new fresh black shirts. So I gave them a shot. There's no attribution back to them in that whole journey. And I've spent a lot of money with them. So the customer journey is complex. It's not easy. It's not click, buy, and the attribution piece gets pretty muddied too. So I just think the future for agencies is, again, smarter, and it's smaller and smarter. You don't have to be small, right? If you can have 1,000 people and all be geniuses, awesome for you.
It's so hard to find people, man.
It's very hard. But this piece that we're talking about, these conversations that we're talking about, this I think is the future. This is what clients are ultimately going to continue to pay for.
Yeah, well, and it comes down to like those are the clients that are winning, and they're taking market share, right? If you're not doing this, then you're probably losing market share in most cases, unless you're like super niche and it's just a matter of time until someone figures it out in the market. So yeah, no, there's so much opportunity for people that know this kind of stuff to scale businesses. And the better you know it, the faster you can obviously, if you're a freelancer, the faster you can sell clients. If you're a business owner, the faster you can scale. Like across the board, it's just better for the whole entire market as a whole too, because you're not going into like profit sharing or like looking at ROAS. You're looking at, okay, these are the results, what we're getting. We don't want to overpay for management because we know that you're doing XYZ and that's going to take away from our margin. Like there's a lot more conversations, like you said, on the actual back end of the business that need to be had that a CMO is going to do essentially. But these businesses aren't going to always have CMOs. It's going to be like a CEO and like a couple people that are running it all. They don't have time to do all that.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
I think I'm very optimistic for the future. Will ad platforms change? Yes. Will it become easier? Maybe. But the reality is, over the last couple of years, everything Google has come out with, I can't speak on Meta because I don't live in that world that often, but within Google, think of what Google has done. They're like, oh, we've got all these new campaign like Performance Max and Demand Gen, and we're coming out with AI Max for search. They're trying to like continue to automate and black box it and make it very easy, right? What have they ultimately done? They've made things more complex. So think about what PMAX was when it first started. And then now we've got all these layers to it and complexities and different settings that they had to start including again, different reporting insights. And it's actually way more complex than just launching a shopping campaign. And so they were trying to, they like over engineer everything now. And so what they're trying to do is make it easier, but they ultimately have made it harder. And so obviously that's a benefit to smart guys like us who then, can consult and work with companies on figuring all of this out to their benefit. But listen, even if AI is going to advance, we all know that. And, you know, things are going to get better and things will get easier. And as time goes on, good, cool. That means I can help more people. That means I can be 10x more productive than I am today. And so, no, I don't think it's going to just wipe out complete industries. I think I'm, you know, there's two narratives in the AI world right now. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's either A, doomsday, everything's done, no one needs to work anymore. How are we all going to feed ourselves? Robots take over and kill everyone, right? Then, and maybe that happens, and whatever.
But then, hey, we're all dead, and it doesn't
We're all
matter
dead.
anyways.
So maybe a cool way to go. But then the other way and the other route is like, you very smart guys in the space, you know, absolute geniuses. They're like, no, this is like everyone's just going to be way more productive. I think companies are jumping the gun on like, we can fire 20% of our staff today because we have AI to do everything. I have yet to see a real practical case of that take off and do well, even in like the customer support. Like, to me, I don't know if you've ever dealt with AI customer support. It's hot garbage, and I
all the
actually like
time.
hate the companies now that are doing that. And so, these LLMs are good at what they're good at, but I don't know, they're not really good at reasoning yet. And so, from this human interaction standpoint of trying to like have it serve humans for commerce, it's still off. So, and I'm not saying it won't get there, right? But I do think a lot of companies jump the gun. These like CEOs are like, I'm going to fire half my staff because we just need AI now. Good luck to those guys. I'm seeing some of them actually suffer now and then try to hire back. And so it's not there. But the guys that are talking about, hey, like, guys, I see this as like a positive. We're going to have more productivity amongst the workforce. I do believe that. And I want my staff to have more tools at their disposal to help clients at a higher level. And so if that's available, excellent. I want more of it. And so I'm not afraid of it. I'm inspired by it. And I can't wait for the future as that continues to evolve. So I think those that are like fearful, or I don't know, it's maybe just like an insecurity, or they're buying into the doom and gloom. And I kind of bought into the doom and gloom too. There will need to be pivots. Like, look at the SEO world right now. There's like, there's pivots there that have to be taking place. Right. But that doesn't mean you're going to need smart guys to still, like, I know SEO agency owners, very, very successful. The cheese is moving. They're moving along with the cheese, right? They're now offering solutions that clients want today. And it's maybe not traditional SEO now. Now it's like working within the AI or the LLM platforms and things like that. So there's opportunity for us, right? And I think the future is very, very bright.
Yeah, I think it's a really good time to grow in and like be able to, like you were saying, fulfill more clients. So then as you're growing business, you'll grow even faster. And the main pain point, well, I mean, it'll still be hiring talent, but it won't be like as quick of a ceiling that you hit.
I think, by the way, this is a perfect moment for guys like you and others who are boutique. I mean, technically, I'm boutique, right? Like, we have like maybe 20 employees. We're not like some massive agency. So, from a grand scheme of things, we're a nobody company, right? But guys who are small, freelancer, one solo people, couple, a guy and a girl or whatever, a friend, like friends doing this together. So just two people, whatever it may be, very, very small. I think there's so much opportunity now actually for the smaller guys, because you can create whatever you want. You don't need to build a massive agency, right? And that was like, for whatever, and maybe it was all the course bros on Instagram ads over the last 5 years, like the SMAA bros. We're like, get rich selling ads to people or running an agency. You don't need to build a big agency to live a really, really good life. You can kind of build whatever you want with this if you're smart at all of this, right? You're helping companies make money. Money will always be available to people who can help companies make more money, right? And so you are tied to the blood of business, and that is sales and dollars. And so you can always make money being a smart person within that and being closely tied to companies' revenue. And I think today you ultimately can probably make way more money now because you could probably work with more clients as we see technology and AI continue to advance, making you more productive. So you can actually build whatever you want around this wave that is starting to take place. And so I'm inspired by that. And now listen, I'm a crazy person, so I'm trying to build a big agency. I don't know how big I would want to get, but I'm more of like, we've got a really cool thing going. I've got an awesome culture. I love my team. I love helping businesses. Any agency will give you the horror stories, right? Like we work with a lot of crazy people too. And there's a lot of people I hate that we've brought on, and I want to, get rid of them. So as clients, but I've got this cool thing that I've been able to build. If I wanted to, I could just say, no, I want to make X amount of dollars per year, keep this to a couple man operation. And I could do that today. Like I literally could probably double my income today if I wanted to make that happen, but I don't. And because I'm just a sick person and I want to grow, and I just kind of want to see what opportunities continue to come my way and how can I continue to just see how big I take this. One day I might hit the spot where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is no longer fun. And trust me, I've been through the ebbs and flows of that. There's many times GrowMyAds that I'm like, what am I doing? This is like so much work for little reward. I was making more money as a freelancer. Like, why even go through all this pain, right? But then you break through those hurdles and it's cool. And then now I fast forward today and I've got this incredible team and staff, and this thing is operating like a full machine. And I'm like, well, how did all this happen?
Yeah, you look back and you're like, oh, okay, now it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense. But I love what we've built. And it's because of the people, right? It's the people I've brought on. It's the team I've built. It's the culture that we have here. And I'm inspired by my team and my people. And so, yeah, I don't want to slow that down. I want to continue it. But you don't have to do that. And so if you just want like, hey, I just want to like drive a Ferrari one day and have a cool house. Okay. You can actually make that happen as a solo, or you and an assistant, or, a five team crew. You can
There's
make that happen.
There's a lot of solopreneurs that are making a lot of money with ads right now, a ton. And they're really good too.
Yeah. More money than I probably make as I have a 20, team operation. Right. And so, now here's the thing. The only difference there is you will always be a part of the business in regards to you will be a cog in the machine in order for that machine to make money. And if you grow like a true big agency, you're actually building a true big business in that case. And so you can exit one day if you want, unless it's found. The problem with agencies is a lot of them are founder led, including GrowMyAds, right? Like our brand's sort of being built off the backbone of my face now.
I mean, even look at Gary Vee too, like
right.
Massive brands. Some brands stay like that up into like 9-figure, 10 figures, which is insane.
So now Gary, like Gary, ultimately, I don't follow him so much, but I would assume he's not day to day doing 40 hours at his agency, right?
No,
so
there's no way.
You can do that if you build a big agency. You could exit completely, right, if you want, but you'll never be able to do that when you're small. So that there's two paths, but to get to this big crazy path, it's a lot of pain and suffering and work. And I think 90% of people who are watching this video who like want to start an agency or want to make money by being a media buyer or a strategist, whatever you want to call them, I think 90% of them they're not fit, or they truly don't want the hardship that comes with growing a big agency. I think what they want and need is a path to make X amount of dollars per year and have a balanced lifestyle, doing a sort of boutique agency or solo sort of setup. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't let any of the gurus make you feel bad that that's the path that you want to go down. I think there's just absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think we're going to have more solopreneur people or freelance people in the future for lots of industries, just due to the fact of the AI advancement. So not just in ads, but in lots of different industries. I think, and that's a increase in entrepreneurship. I love to see that. And so the path though of you wanting to go out on your own or create an agency or do your own thing, you don't have to go with this ambition of I must hit this
100
number and
mil.
and this much staff. You don't have to do that, right? And just look what you're building. You have no aspirations of a big agency, right?
I mean, my thought process with it all is like, I'm going to grow with AI and see what that does. And so far, it's looking like small knit group of really smart people put together, hyper focused on like the service providing, and then like grow as much as you can with AI. Because I think AI is going to make, like you said, things a lot more efficient, and like reporting, like things like that. That's like just basic things that you don't really need like skill to do. Like AI can just crank that out for you,
Right.
make things a lot faster on the decision making process. But the time sucker is always when clients want to learn stuff, which is good because they want to understand what you're doing, and that's fine. But that's always the time sucker that's not necessarily changing the actual output or results that you're getting from it.
With the client, so you're just in the client management piece of ultimately the relationship.
That's the bottleneck. Yeah.
Well, it's right. It's your hours, but they are paying for that. Technically,
exactly.
They're paying for the outcome, right? But part of that is also the relationship and the partnership that you go into. So yeah, I mean that's just a part of the game, right? And so but I think what you're doing is excellent, and I think that's a smart way to go about it. I think more people probably should think like you, versus a lot of people who are like, oh, we got to get big. We got to, and I'm struggling to get big, and I'm doing all this, and I'm like, I'm not getting any profit. And then you're like, what do you actually want? Why do you want to be big? And again, it's like talking to a client about their numbers. People, I think, get caught in momentum and an idea that maybe originated in their brain a year or two ago. And then they're like, oh yeah, what do I'm like, right now, if I give you $1 million a year to live off of, and you worked, 20 hours a week, you had a couple staff, so 2 people, and they're excellent. Would you like that lifestyle? And like, yeah, I would. Okay. You can make that happen with just being small. You don't have to be some big agency owner to hit big numbers, right? On a personal level. Now, you'll never get bought out, so you're never going to get a fat payday to exit, or again, you're never going to be able to walk away and it still prints money for you like an investor would want, right? But you can make big money and have a great lifestyle and freedom if that's ultimately what you want. You can create that. It's still going to be a lot of work. It's going to be hard, and you're going to have to do a lot of different hat wearing. You're no longer just a nerd. You're going to have to become a businessman and a nerd. And is that something you would want? And like most people are like, oh, you're right. Yeah, that's kind of what I want. And so, because otherwise the alternative is, what if you suffer for 10 years before you get the big payday? Because that's the gamble. Now I do fine, so I'm not like worried, but the gamble of building something big is it actually doesn't pay off. And I know guys who have went big and it doesn't pay off. And it's because something happened, things went sideways for a bit. They were over leveraged. They had this massive team, massive payroll, very little margin. Boom. And so you got to be careful, but when you're trying to go big. And but I just don't think most people are actually fit for that, or I truly want that. They just actually kind of want like this dream outcome of what they think big means.
It's going to happen right away, and everyone's going to be perfect. You're not going to run into any issues whatsoever. And you just hire people. That's all you do. Just hire more people. And that's exactly how it works out every time.
Well,
you don't have to train them or anything.
A guy like you, and it sounds like you're going through this right now. A guy like you're truly passionate about your craft, right? And
it's definitely not 20 hours a week. I'll tell you that.
Right. But you're now also trying to build something because you need sales, right? And then now you're getting clients, but then now you have to fulfill on those clients. And then you're like, well, maybe I bring someone on, right? So now you're people managing, not just client managing. Now you got to maybe some staff. And I don't know if you have staff or not, but
yeah,
you've got to play many roles in that. And that's tough. And actually, when you get bigger, so I have a team of like 20. I have a director, I've got strategists, I've got, this and that. And so I'm most of my time gets consumed by like internal people management. It's and I think a lot of business owners go through this when they eventually one day fast forward, they started something, whether it's, you know, a car dealership or a dentist practice that turned into multiple offices. And then one day you fast forward and you're like, wow, I started this business because I enjoyed doing this thing. And I actually never do that thing anymore. I literally am just like managing people. And that's a whole nother like skill set you learn throughout the whole process and everything else. But again, I don't think most people actually want that. There's why? So if all you want is to make good money and have freedom, then you don't need to go down that path. And so I think true crazy entrepreneurs who just want to like, you know, constantly go after big, better. I think a lot of them are diseased, and I'm diseased. I really am. I couldn't just sit here and make a bunch of money being like a solo guy or maybe one or two people. I've already been there, and I'm like, let's move this thing to the next level. You know, that's just who I am. And that's what drives me. Even though it's painful. And that's why I think
it can be fun though, right? Like there's different challenges that are like beyond just the skill set part of it. So like, I kind of like, that's kind of the thing that's tough for me is like, I like that at the same time, but I don't know if I want to grow to like hire 100 people and like have that be like, okay, I'm no longer not an ads. Like I need to be an ad still. Like I need to be in marketing still.
Right.
So
right.
That's
and
one of the most important things.
You can build whatever you want. I think what you're doing is I think you are like the path that when people come to me for like agency advice and they're like freelancers, like you probably are a model that I'm trying to teach them in regards to like, you don't need to go big agency path that you see from all these agency course creators. You can go the path that like yourself, like you're going to grow with the growth of the market and with the growth of AI. And then you can actually probably 10x your productivity and 10x your income potential during that phase, as long as you do it correctly. But ultimately, everyone who's watching this that wants to go freelance or build an agency or whatever it may be, you always need sales, right? And so it doesn't matter what course you buy or whatever else, you have to always have sales. And so you need to go get on. You are a service provider, and whether you're the strategic advisor, whatever you want to call yourself, you're selling, you know, your brain trust. You're selling your knowledge, and that's a service-based industry, right? And so the game is 10x easier for those that have an audience, and that audience you need to go find and create. And again, I said this earlier, it could be X or Twitter, it could be LinkedIn, it could be speaking at conferences, it could be YouTube, which is where I'm at, because I can sit here and talk into this stupid microphone and my camera. I'm fine with that, right? I would rather do this than type some witty clickbaity thing on LinkedIn. And I hire off LinkedIn. I hate logging into it. I'm just like totally disgusted by LinkedIn. And so I just instantly am cringed out by the whole thing.
It doesn't feel authentic at all.
No, I just hate all of it. And so I'm only on there for my own personal gain, which is to hire. And so, but I do not, you'll rarely catch me posting on there, anything like that. That's not my world. There are guys that have built bigger agencies or probably make way more money than me, and they do it all from LinkedIn. And I know guys who have done the same from Twitter or X. And I know guys who have done the same and they have no online presence. They're just at conferences. But you have to just find where the audience is and what channel or platform resonates with your personality. I'm not a LinkedIn writer guy, right? So I'm going to be on YouTube. A lot of these LinkedIn characters, they're not on YouTube. And it doesn't always translate. I've seen guys who are good on LinkedIn try to go to YouTube and they flop, right? Because they actually are just like, they're bland, terrible personalities. So yeah, you can write witty stuff. And then I watch your video. I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. And so sometimes it just, and I would be the same. If I tried to write something on LinkedIn, people are like, is this guy like literate at all? And so I would have to, pay one of my people to probably write my post or have ChatGPT do it. So you just have to find that. And it's a long game, but play the long game. I started YouTube and I said, I'm going to do one video a week and who cares what happens? I'm going to do that for 1 year. And ultimately, if we get no clients from it, fine. the benefit I'll get from it is I have a library asset resource that I can give clients when they ask the same questions over and over again. That's the only goal I had. It was not to get famous, or it wasn't to, this is going to get me get rich quick, right? Nope. It was like I went in it with zero expectations other than ultimately I'll have a library of assets to give to clients.
Yeah.
Then it worked. And now it fuels a good portion of our leads, right? Not all of it, but it's to me, it's the future of GrowMyAds. Like I have to continue to pour into YouTube because this is where we will continue to make a lot of money. And get a lot of leads, doors open up, networking. I meet cool people like you, right? This way, it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have a YouTube channel. And so you have to have that channel. And again, it could be conferences, could be Twitter, whatever, but don't think you can just find a hacky meta ad funnel until you'll grow a 7-figure agency. I have a meta ad funnel that does work. By the way, I had money before I got it to work. So I was already doing like 50K a month or something. I forget where we're at. We were doing some decent numbers before I got meta ads. Why? Because that shit is hard to get to work. And I spent a lot of money and time before I cracked the code. And it wasn't really me, it was Luke, cracked the code on ad hook to the VSL funnel that we run. Lots of money. And that's why I did a YouTube video. Here's my exact funnel. And people are like, aren't you scared other agencies will rip you off? I'm like, good luck to them. They can't gut out losing as much money as I did to figure out how to make that thing work. So it's hard. And so every agency I talk to who has no audience, I'm always like, what are you doing for sales? And they're like, well, we're just continuing to try to do meta ads right now. And it's like, why?
What is your brand? What's the long-term? Because if meta ads get turned off, what happens next?
Right.
Referral based.
Yeah. And like, listen, when you're small and you're starting out, you've got to do kind of more guerrilla stuff. In cold outreach is predominantly dead. I'm sure there's going to be guys who say, they're going to say I'm wrong. But if I were starting out right now, cold outreach in the masses of trying to like bulk cold outreach, I think that is dead. However, cold outreach in regards to you're personally marketing yourself, that can still exist. So if I was a small guy with maybe 5 to 10 clients and I had killer case studies with a specific niche, I would be taking that case study and I literally would be going to every other business in that industry and saying, hey, I helped this company in your industry do this. Would you be interested in having a conversation? And that would be my job 24 hours a day, is literally talking to as many people as I can to share that case study with. And that will get you business. That's cold outreach, but that's done in a very like grunty way. You do that when you're small. GrowMyAds agency, I can't really like when we were doing cold outreach, we were blasting, 10,000 outreach messages a day. And that's kind of dried up. And from what I've seen, at least, and talked to from others. But you got to get yourself to a stage, and it's not, hey, I've got 5 clients and I'm going to figure out an ad funnel on Meta. Those days I think are over too.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, what I did, because I hate cold outreach, I got awful at it, and I'm just not a salesperson. I'm like, hey, you already know who I am. Let's have a conversation. And then if it works, it works. It doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not going to try to like emotionally tap and like figure out if like this is going to be the right way to do it or not. I just suck at that. And so for me, it was kind of the play of like, okay, you work at an agency, you get really good. You have some clients on the side, you keep growing it, you just play the long game of like social and just be as authentic as possible and put it out there. And it starts working out after like a year, and you eventually start to have that turn into its own funnel. So little by little, super important though to kind of figure out what your strengths are, I think, because there are people that are really good at cold outreach that kill it and it can stay in cold outreach and they don't even need to do organic. I just suck at cold outreach.
Right. And there are people who can do what I was just talking about, and they're fine doing that. They're a little maybe more aggressive on the personality side to be able to pull that off. So, and listen, obviously what I said is not, no one can take what I've just said and go like, oh, and I know how to go get sales now for my agency. What I'm trying to plant in people's brains though is, because I wish I would have done this many years ago. And because we built ours through guerrilla marketing. We actually built it through even Upwork. We were on Upwork for a while. we were doing the cold outreach. We were hacking it, and it's good when it's good. And then when it dries up, you're like back to trying to figure out how to get more sales. And, you know, I always knew content, whether, like I knew agencies who blew up through blog posts, right? Back in the day, like that used to be huge. I even invested a lot in like the SEO side of things, but I just, you know, it's weird because it doesn't seem like hard work, but it is. Like doing YouTube videos is actually hard work. Doing probably LinkedIn every single day is hard work. Doing, you know, it doesn't seem like hard work, but it is. And it's manageable for everyone. You can find a platform or channel that works for you. And you just have to grind at it because it's not quick. It's not like ad funnel that you do crack where it just cranks out leads. It's not that. You're playing the long game. But if you're in business, you should be in the long. Like that's my time horizons on the decisions that I'm making and how I'm thinking is not next
it's
month.
years.
It's years. I'm thinking years ahead. What am I hope to be doing this 5 years from now. It's all going to be different looking probably, but that's how my decision making with all of this, because I'm invested fully in this. I'm not trying to build some hacky little company to drop, like, you know, these drop ship guys and things like that who are like,
a little quick win and then
do a flip.
bounce.
This isn't a flip. I'm trying to build a real thing. And so I'm in it for as long as I want to be in it for, I guess. But I'm trying to build something long-term. So my decision making is very long time horizon.
Oh, I love it. I'm realizing that we've been talking for over an hour now.
I knew it would happen, Caden.
It happens every time. I have to jump to another call, so we're going to have to end this, unfortunately. But I think that we'll definitely, like I said, have some more back and forths because there's just so much information to share. And obviously, you know, you have a YouTube channel, and that's in the description below, so you can always check it out. Share some cool Google Ads insights. And yeah, like I said, we'll be having that meeting in the school community as well too, that we'll be filming internally, that'll kind of go over more like specifics kind of on the same topic we discussed. So answering some questions about that, which will be cool. I know you also have a school community as well, so we'll put all that in the description. And
yeah, I'm excited. So your school group, which I'm a member of, by the way, I don't interact in there because I don't have time, but I do pay you guys $100 a month or whatever it is. I am excited to do that. So it sounds like you made a post in the group of a bunch of people to ask questions about running and growing an agency. And so it's going to be like Q&A style, but the questions have already been asked. And so I'm excited. So I'll be answering that. So if you want more agency knowledge stuff, I'll be doing that in Caden's group. And then I have a group as well called PPC Copilot. And there's like Google Ads training by me. But I also do agency stuff. And so once a month I get on live and I answer agency questions live to my group, because about half the group are freelancers and agencies. And so, yeah, if you want to pick my brain more personally about agency stuff, check out PPC Copilot. Again, it's centered around Google Ads training and knowledge, and there's more Google Ads Q&A stuff going on in there. But I also am helping the agency and freelancer folks doing live calls. I'll answer anything. I showed them my entire onboarding sheets and things, you know.
Jeez.
So I go behind the scenes of what I'm doing here at GrowMyAds. So if you want to learn more about that, then check that out. Otherwise, I'm excited for your school group Q&A and all the agency stuff.
Hey, if you like this video, we have a school community where we have a few hundred members and we cover topics, everything from the basics to all the way to the like hyper crazy advanced stuff that's like coming out next month. So a few hundred members there. We go live twice a week, something with an hour-long education about something that is very relevant to the community that week, plus a weekly Q&A where you just get to come and bring us all of your problems and we solve them one at a time.
So I have a link below in the description if you want to join. And then obviously if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we can answer those for you. And we'll see you in there.